afternoon, dear students. Today I will be talking about writing a research paper, which is one of the most challenging part in science. So basically I will share with you some important tips which would be important and useful when you draft a manuscript in future for your own research, and also the information is also useful when you prepare your graduation thesis because of structural similarities. So basically almost all scientific papers, I'm talking about original research articles, not the reviews, because preparing a review is a different subject and different details can be explained in different lecture. So basically almost all scientific papers are follow similar structures. So if you know the structure, so you can find the exact information which you're interested in any research paper. So it makes easier for you to read research articles. So before writing a research paper, so the key information, the key step is to organize your research results properly and regularly. So in the presentation, I will explain each part, starting from the title and thesis, abstract, introduction, result and discussion sections, and conclusions. Of course, in each part, the paragraph structures will be explained in details. Okay. So to make it easier, I will show my own research paper published last year in +1. Chemical and molecular characterization of metabolites from Flowobacterium species. So it's an original research article. So generally in all research articles, research papers, the title should be clear and short, basically briefly giving enough information for the readers to understand, to express your results briefly. So the title should be clear and brief. So as you see in this example, there are only five words and 3 conjunctions in the title. So it's quite easy to estimate the content of the research paper. Another important part in the title page, actually, the authors, the order of the authors. Basically, the first author generally is the one who contributes to the study predominantly, and the corresponding author is the author who is responsible for everything in the research. Another important part is affiliations, where your study was performed. Basically, all addresses and contact information should be written, phone numbers should be written in the title page. After title section, so basically you should write down the abstract of your study. Here you see the structural organization of a typical abstract. So there are 4 important parts in all abstracts. Generally, abstracts consist of around 250 or 300 words to summarize your experimental data. The abstract should be also clear. In the introductory sentence, you should provide the background information of the study. As you see in this example, in this study, a Flowobacterium species is isolated from natural spring and identified using molecular techniques. So this is a clear introductory sentence. Just 1 or 2 sentences are enough to give the background information for your study. In the second part, methods should be written in 2 or 3 sentences. So basically, the methods, as you see here, for example, GC or UPLC or cytotoxicity, what kind of molecular techniques used in the study should be clearly written here. The third part is the result part. This part should express, should give the findings of your research. As you see in this example, our results show that Flavobacterium species is isolate the highest percentage similarity of with Flavobacterium, etc., etc. So the findings coming from the methods should be clearly written here. Generally 3 to 4 sentences are enough to prepare this part. The last part is the conclusion part. The conclusion is intended to give information to the readers, the summary of the study. As you see in this example, in conclusion, Flavobacterium species can be used to produce quercetin for industrial purposes. So it's just one sentence is enough to point out the importance of your study. So basically, now you know how to read the abstract. So for example, you can focus on this part if you are looking for the result of any paper, or if you need more information about the methods, you know where to approximately look at the in the abstract part. So after abstract, it comes the main body of your paper called introduction part. So it occupies around 10 to 15% of your paper, corresponding to around 600 or more words in content. Basically, the total word number may differ in different research articles, but generally, in terms of original research articles, 4,000 or 6,000 words are enough to prepare your research article. So here you see the structural organization of the introduction. Generally, 3 consecutive paragraphs are enough to give the background information about your research. So in the first paragraph, you should mention about the other works related to your study, citing different references to give general information is the first step in the first paragraph. And also you should mention about the problems and limitations or gaps in the literature. These are about the first paragraph. In the next part, in the second paragraph, what's your solution about the problem, and also what's your motivation and what's your aim should be clearly explained in the second paragraph. The last part, the third paragraph, you should emphasize the significance of your paper. Okay, significance of your paper. For example, this is the first report reporting blah blah blah, or there is no information about this topic. And the last couple of sentences should be about the methods used in the study to prepare the readers for the next section called materials and methods. Here you see the example in the paper. For example, so far there is no information about isolated Flavobacterium species segregating quercetin, and novel important metabolites by Flavobacterium species has not been reported yet. So it's a clear indication about the importance of the study. In the last paragraph, as I explained in the previous slide, in this study, quercetin production by a Flavobacterium species isolate was discovered for the first time in literature. Okay, for the first time. So basically, I emphasize here the importance of the study. And the next sentences will be about the techniques, methods used in the study. For example, GCMS or fluorescent microscopy, or what kind of techniques used in the study should be clearly written in this part. Like computational chemistry, basically is a multidisciplinary research paper. Generally, multidisciplinary research are quite important to increase the impact factor of the study. The next part is the materials and methods section. This section is important especially for the reproducibility of your study. So some other research groups may repeat your experiments that you conducted in the research articles. All details about the experiments, all details about the compounds like brand names, the city, country, those kind of details should be provided with appropriate controls, including the positive control, negative control, and how many times you repeated the experiment should be clearly indicated in this part. Of course, citations are important, so basically in the citation, the proper citations should be written in the material and method sections, and also, for example, the details of the methods used in the study should be written in the materials and method section. The third part is the results and discussion part. So depending on the type of journal, so you can either write down separately like results, and in other the part you can basically summarize you can discuss the experimental results in a separate part, but basically a combination of results and discussion is easier, especially to prepare a more compact research articles. So this part should be about your findings, and you should compare your results with other studies, and also limitations, arguments, and speculations should be indicated in this part. As you see in this example, when you express the data, generally table 1, for example, shows SPME GCMS analysis of the supernatant of Flowobacterium species containing extracellular substances. So this is about the expression of table, or if you have figure data, you can say figure 1 shows blah blah blah. But in the end of the explanation, you should add these results indicate what, and then what is the comparison with other works. For example, et al. Showed similar results. So basically this is a sort of discussion and result and discussion. In the next part is the conclusion part. So basically this part is structurally similar to the abstract part of your paper. Generally I copy paste the abstract into the conclusion part, and you can paraphrase the sentences. Here you see the example conclusion. This study reports for the first time production of quercetin by a Flowobacterium species identified as a Flowobacterium cheonensis strain Arsa 15. And finally, basically you can emphasize the importance of the study. For example, here the importance is that we can commercialize the product obtained from the microorganisms. Of course, you can add the implications in the end of the conclusion. This is useful especially for future directions of your study. Basically, it also gives useful information for other researchers if they repeat your study. The last part is the references. There are two important ways to cite other works in your research papers. The first one, the numeric citation. The other one is the alphabetical citation. Depending on the type of the journal, you can basically follow one of the citation way in order to refer to previous studies. Basically, you have to be very careful when you write down the details of the names and title of the paper, and also the volume number, publication years should be written. So both paraphrases and quotations require citations, and make sure the references match those in corresponding citations. And also you have to keep following the ethical guidelines when you draft your research article. So here you see the template of your graduation thesis. Basically, the structural organization is very similar to the research papers. So basically, you should have a title here, and also you should write down your name, and also the name of the advisor should be clearly written. Here you see the table of contents in your graduation thesis. As you see in this slide, basically introduction, material methods, and result and discussion, and finally conclusion parts should be written as I explained you in the previous slides. Basically the structure is similar. The purpose of your thesis, the background hypothesis should be clearly indicated, and also objectives or all materials and methods used in the study should be provided. Of course, this template is for research experimental thesis. There is also another template available in the faculty web page for review graduation thesis. The third part, result and discussion. So you should compare your results with previous papers published, and also in all theses you should add a CV in the end of the thesis. So these are important things about writing graduation thesis and paperwork. I hope you can this information would be useful for you in future, and also if you have any any question, you can contact with me. You can improve the content of your studies in future. So thanks for watching.